Over the years, apart from development projects, the critical relationship between two countries and political interference has played a big role in threatening the very foundation of heritage sites. Hosting the village of UNESCO in the Kingdom of Bahrain, the forum witnessed the collaboration of multicultural minds from 30 countries, where the focus on 29 nominations of heritage sites would be intense over the period of the next 10 days.
This forum is a tradition that the World Heritage Committee has adopted since 2004, bringing young people from different countries in order to address the same issues that are presented to the committee about the protection of cultural heritage, the inscription of sites on the World Heritage List, the management of sites when they are inscribed, but also what are the challenges for the future for the cultural heritage. So this year, Bahrain organized the Young Professional Forum for 30 people coming from 30 countries from all over the world, representing different cultures. And they spent 1 week here receiving theoretical presentation, but also going into the sites. So here in Bahrain, they had the chance to have 2 World Heritage sites, Qalat al-Bahrain and the Pearl Route. And in Qalat al-Bahrain, I had also the privilege to speak with them and to address also how at UNESCO, where I worked for many, many years, how at UNESCO we are launching another program which is called Heritage in the Hand of Young People. And this is really going from the primary school up to secondary schools with a kit presenting all the aspects of what is a World Heritage, what is the World Heritage Convention, what is the World Heritage Committee, how it works, and how sites are inscribed on the World Heritage List. Unfortunately, in these countries, there are internal crises. These conflicts are damaging not only the monuments, but also the people. And this is why we insisted, because it is also one of the priority of UNESCO, to deal with the preservation of heritage in times of conflict. And it is also a priority that Her Excellency Sheikh Hamay Al Khalifa, when she established the Arab Regional Center for World Heritage, she gave orientation to the colleagues in the World Heritage Center to address also this issue. There are other issues, but this is an important issue, and this is why we started in Bahrain a work with the Iraqis. We have a lot of contacts with Iraqis, and we have even an expert from Iraq working temporarily with colleagues here in Bahrain about the protection of sites in times of conflict. The same for Yemen, the same for Libya, the same for Syria. So this is an orientation which is also reminded by Madame Azoulay, Audrey Azoulay, the Director General of UNESCO, yesterday in her speech official in front of His Royal Highness and all the high officials of Bahrain, but also today in the press conference. So that means this is really a subject that is at a high level of priority. There is also a side event which will be organized here in Bahrain in few days about Mosul. It's the famous Mosul, which was so badly damaged by Daesh You know that the main mosque, Al-Hadba Mosque, was demolished, even the minaret. Yes, and yes, exactly. And this is the topic today of now that, fortunately, this Daesh group has been expelled from Mosul, how to reconstruct, by which site we start. And the idea of the Director General of UNESCO is to start with the symbol of this city, which is its mosque, Al-Hadba. It is, working on World Heritage is a complex issue because you are not treating the buildings or the sites or the archaeological monuments like you are dealing with a modern building. Like we're in a modern building. It can be dismantled in 2 weeks. A World Heritage Site is a precious legacy, and we need to have the appropriate training and capacity building of people dealing with different specialities. And we have some successes, for example, actually one of the largest projects in the world for protection of a World Heritage Site coming from a region of war, Cambodia. Now it is one of the most successful projects for conservation and restoration. So this gives hope to others when they see that the country having suffered more than 20 years of war, with a lot of destructions, looting of objects. The looting is also another major danger for the sites. Now it returned to not only a normal situation, but a very positive situation where this site is attracting millions of visitors. They are coming to visit the Buddhist temple in Angkor, and they are bringing a lot of resources for the local population. So World Heritage, even after a disaster like in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and you have here one member of the committee coming from Bosnia-Herzegovina, and he spoke earlier to say that he was so proud that thanks to the World Heritage Committee and the progress in bringing resources, they were able to make restoration of the city of Mostar and this famous bridge of Mostar, which is recognized as a World Heritage Site. If we see from the legal point of view, one of the first international legal treaty was the UNESCO Convention called the Hague Convention, adopted already in 1954. Why? Because those who have drafted this convention, they was coming from the Second World War, where so many destruction happened. And here you have the representative of Poland. And as you know, Poland was badly damaged, particularly the capital, Warsaw, during the Second World War. The first act, the first political act of the Polish government after the war was the reconstruction. So, yes, to reply to your question, it is terrible to see that countries are unfortunately subject to crisis. And in this crisis, this is something that is new and that I highlighted also in my work. Not only the population is touched and hurt with people dying, civil population displaced, terrible life, but also the heritage. And without this heritage, when the people return to their homes, if they know heritage, they lose their identity. UNESCO is not a superpower. UNESCO is an international organization dealing with main subjects like education, science, culture, communication. And UNESCO established rules, international rules. And as I said, the Convention of 1954 is a convention which is explaining to the member states, if there is a conflict, these are the measures that you should take. But UNESCO is going ahead saying we should avoid the conflicts. When they come, you cannot expect, for example, who was expecting that there will be a regime in Afghanistan called the Taliban regime starting to destroy the Museum of Kabul, the Buddha of Bamiyan, etc. Nobody was expecting. When we were from UNESCO launching appeals saying that this is heritage, there is a convention, these are groups or parties not respecting the international laws, not respecting the rules which have been established by international law. And that's why the aim of UNESCO and the logo of UNESCO was, since war began in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that we put the seeds of peace. So this is the work of education, of raising the level of knowledge, the programs for intercultural dialogue. All these programs of UNESCO are going into this direction to try to avoid conflicts and to avoid this loss. So for these kind of countries, as far as there is no security, UNESCO cannot intervene. You know, I did missions in Bosnia, I did missions in Cambodia, in Iraq, in Syria, in Afghanistan, when there was possibility of having security. Because we are civil servants, not having arms. You know, we are not military people, but we have to wait that security is ensured, and then we go on the spot. This is what UNESCO is doing now. For example, if we look about Mosul, now there is a UNESCO office in Baghdad, and the UNESCO office in Baghdad is now gathering with the Iraqi people and government the means to start working on Mosul, but there are so many other sites which are also damaged. Libya, it's very difficult to intervene because still security is not there. But what we are doing, we're inviting Libyans and make training for the Libyan colleagues in order to ensure some protection. In Syria, we did the same. We organized from here, from the Arab Regional Center for World Heritage and under the chairmanship of Sheikh Hamay, we organized training three times for the Syrian colleagues, archaeologists, engineers, architects, for the preservation of the site, because they are living inside and they have to do some preliminary works. It is only when peace is established, then we can intervene concretely, like we are doing now in Afghanistan. There is a lot of work in the Valley of Bamiyan. Missions are there, Italian, German, Japanese. They are there. They are working with the Afghan. The Museum of Kabul has been restored completely and reopened. Now the public can go to the museum. But we had to wait until the peace is established. It will not be functioning in one go. It is important to establish a priority list. And we see what happens in other countries and we take lessons. I have the experience of having worked in Lebanon after the end of the internal conflict in an agreement which was done in Taif. It is called the Taif Agreement in 1991. What we did, we worked with the authorities of Lebanon, and with them we discussed what is the first thing to do to give hope to the population. It was restoring and reopening the National Museum of Beirut, which was so badly damaged that there were no door and no windows. And I have pictures, so I went immediately after the war. Now this museum is totally reopened and completely secured. This is what UNESCO is doing.